Hey guys, it's Coach Linny. We are here with another episode of LineMentality by LinePro, the Lineman Development Podcast and video series. I'm here with Jeron Mastrud, a local Portland guy who had a crazy football career, played all kinds of different positions, and I better let him introduce himself because it's a long list. So why don't you tell us, Jeron, about where did you play, starting with high school, and go ahead and include the positions because I think that's important.
All right. Yeah, I'm from Beaverton, Oregon. I went to Southridge High School. I grew up playing DN my whole life, along with a variety of offensive positions, depending upon if I was over the weight limit at that point in youth football. So I did play offensive line. I played receiver as a freshman in high school with some quarterback. I played quarterback with some tight end as a sophomore, mainly quarterback. And then as a junior, I played all quarterback, and senior, I played 3 games at tight end and the rest as a quarterback while playing DN the whole time. So I was always on the line, mainly defensively, and then offensively, I wanted to be a tight end, but we didn't have a quarterback at the time, so I had to play quarterback.
I think you see that more commonly than people think. You know, you think everybody wants to play quarterback, but I do see it a lot where a guy would rather be playing something else, but he's the only guy who can sling it. I've even seen a lineman have to play quarterback, and I think we all know that there have been some that even make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
But anyways, so after that, and you were doing recruiting, and I imagine it was kind of crazy to talking to coaches about what position you're going to play and how it's going to work out that way. Why don't you take us through that a little bit, just how it came to be that your recruiting went down? Yeah,
I mean, it was tough as a high school kid, and you're really wanting to play a position that you don't have hardly any film on, any plays that really would warrant that Division I scholarship you're looking for. And I always felt pretty defeated, but just kept my head down and kept working and knew that my opportunity would come. And a lot of people were kind of want me to walk on at the Division I level, the 1AA level. They weren't really talking to me because they felt like I would just go Division I whenever that came around, but I didn't really have much of anything my whole career through high school. And then all of a sudden Kansas State showed up on my door because I had good grades, and a coach from Dartmouth ended up getting hired by Kansas State. He knew of me because they were trying to get me out there to Dartmouth, and the story kind of unfolded that way. Coach Prince at the time had just got done coaching Heath Miller at Virginia, who was the exact same situation as me. Parents were both teachers. He played defensive end and quarterback, turned out to be a first-round tight end, great tight end for the Steelers, and he felt like he could groom me the same way. So I liked what he had to say about that and made my decision pretty quickly after that to head on out to K-State.
That's a cool sell, you know. I mean, if you talk about a guy like Heath Miller, and I just got done coaching a guy, and I watched him go through the whole thing, and I'm going to go do that with you. And that's pretty much what happened. I think the takeaway there for a kid, and maybe you could speak to this, just being open to talking to any school, because you never know who's moving around. It's a coaching carousel, right? So, I mean, Dartmouth, were you considering going there, or were you just being open to whatever?
I mean, I was considering the Ivy League because I know there's life after football, and the Ivy League presents a lot of great possibilities for life after football, along with going across the country. I'd be networking with people that I wouldn't have any touch with if I stayed local. So there was some consideration, heavy consideration towards going out there. I was always big on academics. So I wanted to further my academic education, but I wasn't going to pass up opportunity to play in the Big 12 when that came knocking.
Right. And I actually remember your recruitment as it happened, because I was I've just always been a guy that likes to research and know who's out there and what's happening. I had been committed to the Beavers, and I was reading some of the Beaver stuff, and they were really hoping to get you. And I remember when you committed to Kansas State, and I was like, I'll never be friends with that guy. But I wanted to. And I'm lucky now that came around. I realize we're all small fish in a big pond, and we're being from the Northwest, we got to stick together. So it's a friendship that I'm really excited about because we're doing very similar things, and we're helping a lot of kids in just different ways. And so we have a lot to talk about. So in high school, it was kind of a family affair. I know your brother Kellen played as well. What's the age difference there?
He was a freshman when I was a senior.
Okay, so pretty big, right? So my older brother was a senior when I was a sophomore, and he was a quarterback. And safety, I was a guard and a pretty large outside linebacker that year. But it was fun because he was strong safety, so we played together. But and all the QB sneaks, he went my way. Side note.
I like that.
Anyways, when you're playing quarterback, because we don't talk to too many quarterbacks on Line Pro. But you played D end and you played tight end. We consider you a lineman. But you were quarterback. Tell us about QB sneaks from your point of view. I mean, did you run some QB sneaks? I imagine you had
I mean,
to.
definitely. I was born in Roseburg, and my dad came from coaching Roseburg for 18 years and was gung-ho about the veer and triple option type plays. So any tight moment that we would get in a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, it was pretty easy to have a 6'5", 6'6" guy, 230 in high school, just take the snap, dive forward, let's move the chains. So
yeah,
those were fun.
Sure.
They weren't my favorite. I liked a lot of other things. I liked to throw the ball. I liked commanding the huddle. I love those things. But if anything went wrong and we had a turnover, it was great to take that aggression out at D-line, which I loved a lot more than quarterback.
Was there ever a worry about you playing D-line and quarterback and like getting hurt? Because a lot of times these days, even if you are a great D-end, if you're the starting quarterback and the guy the team has, a lot of guys want to hold out and not play defense, you know? So was there ever like a worry there, or were you like, no, I'd rather play D-end?
Yeah, I was never worried because I knew what I could do at D-end, and I knew that's where I was most comfortable. So ever since I started playing football as a 5th grader, I played 3 technique or 5 technique or 7 technique, something in that realm. So playing D-end and primarily being a 7 or a 9 technique later in high school was even more comfortable than being inside at 3, and I felt like I could, you know, I knew what techniques to use. I knew how to position my body. I took care of myself, trained well. I didn't feel like injury was anything to think about. And if you're worried about an injury, you're probably going to get one. So I try to just let that be out of my mind and go out and play ball like I knew.
Injuries is something we're going to talk about, but I'm still curious. At this point, you know, you're transitioning to K-State. You had never really had to be a blocker that much, you know, and you'd been on the trenches. And by the way, were you more of a run-stopping D-end or a pass rusher? Or balanced?
Pretty balanced, but definitely more run-stopping. I took a lot of pride in shutting the run down and making people run the other way. If someone ran my way, that was offensive to me. You shouldn't run my way or even consider that.
Especially
even if I'm the quarterback.
Right.
I don't care. Jesuit tried me a couple times, shut them down.
Shots fired.
You know, Westview got after me a little bit with some option stuff, but we had a lot of talent in the Metro League. So there's 3 other Division I quarterbacks in the league out of 9 schools. So, I mean, 1/3 of the league went D1.
How do you beat a giant quarterback playing D-end? You run the option against him. You beat him with his own game. You make him make the decision that he never wants to have to make. No, so now you're at K-State. So how did you learn to block? I mean, was it just natural, or did you have a mentor, or is the coach helping you?
I mean, first of all, the thing about blocking to me is where I saw other tight ends, where I was able to surpass other tight ends, is some of them just don't want to do it. You have to genuinely want to do it and like to do it. And I really do like to block and get up in somebody and pancake them. I like that more. I don't know why, but something for me likes to do that more or equally as much as catching a touchdown.
Sure.
I like pancaking a guy and seeing the running back take off right by me for a first down. That feels great to me. I don't know why, but other guys like being more glamorized and having touchdowns and a lot of catches, which I had some of those, but I like doing that equally as much. So I felt like I just had a want to do it, so it made it easy to coach me. I'd tried out at camps before when I was in high school. I would go to camps as a tight end and just try my best and take the coaching I could get and, compete at each rep. And I felt like I got better from some of those. But my freshman year at K-State, I learned a lot real quick, especially over the summer and the first training camp. But things ended up working out, gained the trust of the coaches. At least I would go the right way. As long as I go the right way and try the technique they're telling me, they were comfortable with maybe losing a rep. And I ended up starting the first game as a true freshman.
True freshman?
That was pretty sweet.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you started the first game as a true freshman.
Yeah.
Take us to that moment. I mean, who was it against?
Illinois State.
Okay. So a little bit,
We
maybe
had
it wasn't.
one AA team come in to start the season
Oklahoma.
off. Wasn't Oklahoma. But I caught the first pass of the game, a little over the ball, OTB, 8-yard, boom.
Oh, and we don't know what OTB is as linemen.
Over the ball.
What's over the ball mean?
Just run straight up over the ball, hitch around.
Where the ball was.
It's a hitch. So yeah, wherever the ball is hiked from.
Okay.
Run over there, turn around,
today.
ball.
OTB means where the ball was. To me, over the ball is the center's chin, right? Because that's where the ball is, and I'm hovering over it.
Yeah.
I would call that where the ball was.
If
I was making the route.
You could have a 5-yard
BW.
A 5-yard OTB, 8-yard OTB.
Okay.
Move the chains OTB, whatever you need. So
cool.
Nice, easy route for a not superior athleticism type guy like me to just get in, body someone up, throw it where the defender isn't, make a catch, get what you can, move the chains, keep things going. But yeah, that first, getting out there, we ran a lot of 2 tight end packages, so I was starting as that second tight end with another guy.
Sure.
Eventually, he got arrested, and I was the starter during that season. So starting off with Illinois State was great to get that first experience in a big stadium. And being an 18-year-old kid, never having played tight end, it was nice to warm up with something like that. Yeah. But I had to get ready quickly for the 3rd-ranked Louisville team was coming to town the very next week. And then a Big 12 schedule, which is never easy, including a matchup with the defending champs, Texas, which we ended up upsetting. So that was great.
Always fun.
Yeah.
You got to get one good upset in your college career.
Oh, yeah.
We got USC as their #1, and that's something I'll talk about till the day I die. It's amazing. You remember that feeling? Look at the smile right here. Look right here at this camera. That smile. That's an upset smile.
Yeah,
That is, y'all came in here thinking you're going to win.
Yeah.
Thinking you're big and mighty, 5-star guys. I came from Oregon.
Yep.
I'm the starting tight end.
Yep.
And we just upset you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I made plays.
Yeah.
Good
Got
times
after
right there.
Got
Good
after
times.
him.
I love that you're a blocker. Not every tight end blocks.
Yeah. And I prided myself on that because you got to work together with the linemen, obviously, or hopefully.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
our coach was really big on establishing a run game, but also being a passing threat as well. So he wanted an all-around complete tight end, which I feel like I could bring. And like I said, just want to block people and being a quarterback I was a quarterback because we didn't have another quarterback, so I was doing it in the best interest of the team rather than complaining about why I don't get to play what I want to play or what I'm better at or what's best for my future.
It's true.
I got to play what I want to help this team have the best chance to win a state title, and then things can work out for me later, which they did. So
it's a great lesson right there. I mean, I see so many guys complain and blame when they wish they were playing another position. I play O-line and I want to play linebacker. I want to play more D-line. I play linebacker and I wish I could be a receiver. Whatever it is, that's such a huge message because what you see is a guy, instead of just having a good attitude and being a team guy like you were, and then just letting things work out as they're supposed to, they resist, and it starts affecting the way they prepare. It starts affecting the way they interact with their teammates, and they end up ticking off the coach, right? The one guy who you want to impress, right? Which you had your dad, so it's a little different story. I don't know if you had a choice, but I see a lot of guys doing that, and my message is just like, have a great attitude. You can't do this without your coach's approval. You can't win in this game if you can't have your coach like you. And like I have been saying lately, 99% of the time, it's you.
Yeah.
That 1% does happen where a coach maybe has an ego and maybe he has a grudge against somebody, right? That happens, okay? And that's a good life lesson. Some guys transfer, maybe they should have, maybe they shouldn't have, not our thing to say. But you stuck in there, you played quarterback, and it worked out, right? Say you're a short guard and you want to play college football and you say, I'm not going to make it as a short guard. I want to be a fullback. Be the best pulling guard you can be and then go play JC a year for a team that needs a fullback. All right, I don't know if fullbacks are even used anymore at all, but anyways, how did playing quarterback, did playing quarterback help you as a pass blocker?
I mean, playing quarterback helps anybody at any position because everyone should approach the line as a quarterback. And, I mean, for linemen and pass blocking, why aren't your eyes on the safeties? You can't, I mean, you want to better identify or more quickly identify a blitz or what the defense can bring at you based on what they're showing. Identify the field just like a quarterback would be. You may not need to assess the corners as much as a quarterback, but assessing the safeties, assessing the slot, all those things you have to do as any player, or you should, or the guys at the NFL are doing that.
Yeah.
So you can take your time and figure that out later in life, or figure it out now that read the field like a quarterback. So for me, I always stepped up to the field as if I was the quarterback. You know, what coverage are we seeing? Is the guard covered or uncovered? What am I seeing right here? You know, is the safety rotating down? And then what happened on the snap of the ball? You got to make that adjustment too. So quarterback is the most mentally demanding position, in my opinion. And I think having grown up playing that, it made things a lot easier to just go play tight end and worry about myself at tight end.
Right. That just makes me think so much about any tackles who end up converting to tight end and how much more backwards that is. Say a receiver converting to tight end, he's got to learn how to block. A tackle converting to tight end, you know, he's got to learn what cover 2 means. He's got to learn what cover. This is tough stuff. So, I mean, that's playing quarterback, you get the best of all 3 worlds because you know the routes. maybe you haven't ran them a lot. I knew a lot of quarterbacks. I played arena football a little bit, and all those quarterbacks at some point play receiver. Shout out to JJ Ratterink. One time for the LA Kiss, he had to play a whole game at receiver, and then also the backup quarterback one time, Chris Deeker, my boy. He played a whole game at receiver, and they did great. You know, it's like, hey, well, why not? Because they know A, the routes. Yeah. They know, and then B, they know everything that normally ticks them off about what receivers do, so they can do those little things right. And that's you at tight end running routes. You know, talk about the pocket presence. Like, did your experience as a quarterback, getting hit, getting rushed, getting pressured, you know, letting guys come in through the inside gaps, did that kind of help you along as a pass blocker when it comes to just technique and like strategy, thinking about, you know, what direction am I going to funnel this guy so that he goes through the outside and so the quarterback can step up? Did that, was that, does that
I
help?
mean, there's a few things there. The first one, playing quarterback and having to have pocket awareness so you don't get killed, and you can make the best decision for the team to have success, helps your overall spatial awareness. So as a quarterback, you're the only person on the field at the moment that is unprepared to be hit. So you need to have really good pocket presence, especially the higher level you play and better competition you play, because eventually a D lineman's coming through and you got to get away from them. Right. I mean, you look at the top quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, they deal with a lot of pressure and a lot of hits, but they're rarely getting sacked because their awareness is so good. True. So that awareness helped me good spatially, especially when it came to passing off games, twists, a late blitzer, a guy that maybe matched up man on you and blitzes because he sees you pass rushing. Those type of things were really easy to pick up on. I mean, after I got that view down of the field, those were easy to pick up on. The other one about having pocket presence and just knowing the internal clock that the quarterback has. Lineman,
being able to feel for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I went and pass blocked in college, I instantly understood that because I was like, shoot, we got, you know, I got this much time to hold you off. I know that, hey, we have a 3-step drop, so we need to go, you know, send you around the outside, definitely cut the inside off. Like, I understood those things, and I knew, hey, I didn't like having a guy slant right through across this guy's face while I'm trying to hit a, you know, throw a slant or a hitch, and I was a defender in my face. So as a blocker, I knew, hey, I got to be here to help my boy out back here. I know I would hate it, so I was always, you know, kind of having the best interest of the quarterback and understanding what he's dealing with and how much he's dealing with made it easy for me to really fight and battle to, you know, do my assignment and help whoever else I could do their assignment.
Awesome. I want to go back to the family affair of high school football. Yeah. What could you tell the kids? What could you tell me? Because I played for my dad in little kid ball, and he wasn't even the head coach. I think he was just there to handle me. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding, Dad. But he was a defensive man, you know, and just always helped me get low and fire off, the same things that most youth coaches do. Yeah. But talk about playing for your dad and having him be a longtime head coach. You know, obviously that had to have gone into how smart you are with the game of football. Yeah. But more like emotionally and with recruiting and, you know, training as a kid, like how did that all play together, having your dad as a coach?
Ooh, that's a lot. He I mean, he was the strength and conditioning coach at Southridge as well as the head coach. Wow. So not only did I have him after practice at football, I had him during school as a teacher as well, which, I mean, it wasn't bad at all, and I am more thankful for it now after the fact. I mean, there were moments when I was going through high school where I was like, gosh, I just can't escape him here, and my aunt was the activities director, so whether I'm in the athletic side of things, he's finding out anything, and if I'm in the, you know, leadership, social side of things at school, she's seeing anything. So I was never escaping anybody. Yeah.
So you just had to be good.
Yeah. So the constant demand to be great and be a good example was the lesson that I realized I just developed naturally that helped later on. So I was a good example and good ambassador of Kansas State football or the Miami Dolphins or the Oakland Raiders or whoever I was with at the time. I just naturally was like that because that's how I grew up. Yeah. It was nice to have him push me and for me to push myself for him because we moved from Roseburg so he could be the head coach at Southridge when it opened. And he's from Beaverton originally and wanted to come back and establish a program of his own, put his own name on something, and I knew I could help that out significantly because I felt like I was a good player. So I did everything I could and help bring other guys around and I felt like it was easy for everyone else to understand that this isn't just about you. It's not about you getting recruited. It's about us as a team collectively. So I felt like him being there helped me understand a team dynamic more than an individual dynamic and what am I getting for myself, what's in it for me. And he'd had so much success in Roseburg. I mean, they won 2 state championships back-to-back undefeated. They won another one, and then I want to say they lost like 3 and tied 1. So he'd had at least seven state title games that he'd coached in already, plus track championships as a head track and field coach. So I knew he had a lot of experience and knew what to do, what's right. So it was easy to just kind of listen and say, hey, do these things, follow these steps, and you'll go where these guys went. Yeah. Lastly, having him around, I didn't have the opportunity to, this is before Huddle and iPads and conveniently being able to watch film. We had to put, I don't even want to say this, it sounds so old, but tapes in the VCR.
It was like a box with physical movie tape in it.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't digital.
And then, by my senior year, we had DVDs.
Yeah.
But having that around, like the only thing on is tape. So I might as well sit here and figure out what I can take away from it. So when I came out on Friday, I knew all my reads as a quarterback, but I also knew the tendencies and tips as a DN, so I could strike and make my plays as needed.
It was like right in the middle of VHS to DVD. Yeah. I remember when I first started doing recruiting, like, hey, do coaches have DVD players or should we send tapes? Like that was an actual question. Yeah. You kids are like, Huddle or YouTube? It's like, enjoy it, guys.
That's a lot
You got it
easier.
easy. And for some reason, people complain more, it feels like sometimes, right? You got it easy, guys. Just get that Huddle together.
Real easy.
But at the same time, when it was harder to make tape, there was less tape out there.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the second string guy has a film,
Yeah.
And it's like, it was just great, you know, do your thing. But at the time, it was like 2 players on each team would actually put tape together.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, right. And so the competition's higher, so now it's more visible.
Yeah.
You really have to do something to get seen. You really have to do something special.
Yeah.
Don't think you can be normal and do what you're dreaming of because you got to have the film perfect. You got to get it in the right eyeballs. And there's even kids that would say, oh, I don't want to go to Dartmouth. I want to go to K-State.
Yeah.
And it never happens. And they should have talked to the Dartmouth coach who went over. So
exactly.
Now, you finished playing at K-State. Let's just talk about the transition to the pros because, list the teams you played for again.
The ones I technically played, I played for Miami for 3 years and then Oakland for 1 year. Okay. But before Miami, I went to Tampa Bay as an unsigned free agent out of the draft. Went there, for the whole rookie minicamp, OTAs, off-season program. Didn't make it, didn't beat the guys out, you know what I mean? Realized I wasn't what I thought I was, even coming off of being a first-team All-Big 12 tight end pick. Yep. That doesn't mean you get guaranteed a spot as a starter or even on the team or even the practice squad as a guy in the NFL. It is a whole new level. It is a business. There's people's lives at stake. It's their livelihood. And I didn't realize the level of severity everyone had around it, so I knew I needed to amp things up. Went to New England.
One thing is like you're 23, you're 22, and there's like 33-year-old dudes like who do this as a living for the last 12 years. Yeah. That's a huge jump in just ability and knowledge. You feel like a child around these guys, So the guys that go and play right away are very impressive. But go ahead and continue.
Went to New England for a day. After that, they claimed me on their practice squad, and I was there for a day with Gronkowski and Hernandez and Algie Crumpler. Got to see Tom Brady throw a pass to Randy Moss, which was one of my favorite things because those are 2 of my favorite players growing up.
That's tight.
Next day, I go into workout and they cut me, so that wasn't as tight. And then went down on my way to the airport. My agent just said, hey, instead of going to Portland, just take that flight to Miami, and ended up in Miami for 3 years. Started on the practice squad the first 2 weeks, kind of learning their system. And once I showed the knowledge behind the offense and everything I'd be asked to do, they promoted me to the active roster, and I started that next week.
Wow.
On Sunday Night Football versus the Jets at home in Miami, and that was badass.
Yeah. How'd that game go?
We won. We got to wear the orange jerseys. Those were sweet. They haven't worn those in a little while.
That's awesome.
That was cool. And then after 3 seasons there, they decided not to re-sign me, and Oakland picked me up. But once again, kind of a situation of networking with the coaches you're around. The head coach in Miami my first 2 years became the offensive line coach in Oakland. The offensive coordinator from Tampa during the time I was there became the OC in Oakland, and they both knew that what I was and what I was capable of, and put the word into the head coach and the GM to bring me on. Luckily, they even brought me in for a tryout because I ended up beating everyone out and becoming the starting tight end that year. Wow. So if it wasn't for the relationship I was able to develop with those 2 and the trust I was able to develop with those 2, I might not have ever had that opportunity later on, which I was very thankful for, and thankful for them for finding me and knowing I was available to come on out. And then after Oakland, they didn't re-sign me. I was on a 1-year deal, and they wanted to go with the younger guys they picked that are cheaper and probably possibly a higher ceiling, which none of them are even on the team anymore. Went to Chicago for training camp that next year, and then decided instead of waiting around and continuing to try out for people and waiting for the next off season and whatnot, that I would just start my life doing other things that I like to do.
Cool. So let's just go right there. Well, actually, one thing I heard you were telling me a little bit earlier about some of the guys you played with and played against.
Yeah.
You mentioned Tom Brady, but I'm talking about guys you went against. I mean, you mentioned Jason Taylor.
Yeah.
Talk about that. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely insane. I mean, I grew up playing, I don't know if people play NFL Blitz anymore, like some of these little games that like Jason Taylor.
I hope you all know what that is.
Jason Taylor was the best person to have because he could cover guys, he could blitz, he could pass rush, he could attack, he could do everything. Yeah. And here I am playing him, and the dude, I mean, is even more impressive in person. And we got one-on-one pass rush with the outside linebackers for 5 minutes, little period, and I happened to have to go against him 3 times, and I've never seen. I mean, I know boxers got fast hands, but this guy's hands are unreal fast.
One-on-one against Jason Taylor in practice?
As a tight end. I'm not the left tackle. I'm not the right tackle. I'm a tight end.
All I can say is at least when you get whooped in that situation, nobody's really going to judge you. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can at least know the whole time, I'm feeling comfortable. I'm going to get whipped. How'd you do, though? Did you hold up? I
didn't get whipped. He got me on an inside move, one of the 3 reps.
Sure.
One of the other ones was a stalemate, which is a win for me because he's not getting a sack. And then another one, I felt like he kind of got me on a little bull rush and, you know, collapsed the pocket a little bit, but I was on him, so it wasn't complete on my back, you know what I mean?
You didn't disappear into thin air.
I felt like I was there for 2 of the 3 reps. One of them, you got me.
So he went inside of you, he went outside of you, he went through you.
Yeah.
Which is good because if it had been me, I'm a little shorter, he probably would have gone over me as well. But you avoided that one, so that's cool. I played against, well, I didn't play against, but I played on the team in camp, you know, you guys know 1 year, against Julius Peppers. But I was a center, so I didn't have to get close to him except for maybe once, and it wasn't close enough to get to let him have it. You know what I mean? I would have. Anyways.
I mean, there's plenty of dudes I could go on about.
In the games, is there anybody in the game you had
trouble
with?
I played the Ravens and had to go against Terrell Suggs. Ooh. That was rough. He hit me with a quick inside move across my face, and pre-snap read wouldn't show. I mean, he's a big dude too.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just quick and smaller guy. Yeah. He's big, and if you're out of position, you're not going to just stop him. He's got too much power and force behind that. And pre-snap read didn't really indicate he's going to make an inside move because he should be setting the edge outside. Yeah. Inside move, beeline to the quarterback, and I never felt worse about that. He got the ball off, so it wasn't a sack.
Hey, all right.
But he took a lick.
You breathed on him real good and almost held him off.
Oh, I felt bad about that.
But Ray Lewis was on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see him as much. I didn't have any.
No OTB against.
Yeah,
Ray.
I didn't have much against him directly. More against Terrell. Going against Cameron Wake in practice was an experience because he wasn't what he is now. At the time, he was unknown. My first year there was his Pro Bowl coming out, first Pro Bowl coming out party basically, and he was getting after everybody in practice. I had to pull down the line to cut off the backside. Oh, he laid me out bad. And he's a shorter guy. He's about 6'6", and very compact and powerful. So not getting low, you'll learn your lesson quick on him, and he will toss you out of the club instantly. So. I had that moment against him, but
such a cool experience.
Yeah.
So now your NFL days were over.
Yeah.
And that was 5 years ago?
Yeah, 2014.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
And now we're here at Apex, and what do you say? Performance, wellness, and rehab.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Man, just a lot of the stuff throughout my career of knowing, I had injuries in high school, had some in college, had some in the pros, and just knowing that, felt like in high school I was able to overcome whatever I had just because I was a bigger guy and still, one of those recruits that had film that was getting out there. One of the guys that was a frame that, hey, I could work with that. So I had that in my back corner, and I was able to, overcome some of the games I didn't get to play and sat out because of injury. But I knew, that I was very fortunate to have that happen. Same thing happened again in college, later in my career, that I had some things that could have been worse, but they weren't. And I saw other guys that were really good players, better than me, just never panned out because they got hurt. So personal experiences of injuries and overcoming them and seeing other guys that were really good that their careers ended because of injuries made me want to come back to my hometown and help other kids and now adults and anybody else that have injuries get over them quickly so they don't have an injury or chronic pain as an excuse. They can go enjoy their life, and their performance can be their excuse as to why they didn't make it to where they want.
Absolutely. So, you got some family together, and you guys started a business and just got going.
Yeah.
and then that's turned into this basically.
Yeah, my brother lived with me when I played in Oakland and did a lot of treatment on me because in the pros they're documenting in college they're documenting everything they do with you in the treatment room, and the more stuff you have in your file makes you look more injury prone and more of a risk and more of a liability. So why would we want to pay you or bring you back when you got all these issues? So I knew what I had working against me coming in. I failed my medical evaluation at the combine, so. Yeah, I didn't look good to anybody. Coming out, I looked like damaged goods right out the gate.
What was that about?
They said I had early onset arthritis in my knees, which I was 21. Still had they said I had multiple stress fractures in my ankles and feet, which
if you watch daytime television, they have some good stuff for that, I think.
I mean, I was sitting there thinking in my head, like, you could pull any of these guys in here and say those same things about them.
Yeah, they're pretty ruthless.
Yeah, but
a funny story for me is that they actually had the wrong file. The only injuries I had was a high ankle, and my right pinky is just generally kind of banged up. And that was it. But I sat down at the Combine Hospital, and he's like, okay, Mr. Linenkohl, it looks like you missed a whole season with a broken wrist, and you pulled your hamstring. What they had was the person's name right next to me from my school. And the trainer, good guy, accidentally sent the wrong file. So you'd think it'd be like, hey, let's just clear this up. They had to x-ray, and they x-rayed my wrist, and they're testing my hamstring, and I'm just like, you guys know that I'm not hurt there, right? Are you guys telling the coach? I'm just thinking, like, what the heck? So I like to blame that for my career not going as long as I wanted to, plus my height. And plus at the Combine, I was 6'1" and 7/8.
7/8.
And at 1/8 of an inch for me, and 6'2" even. And I knew that I had bad breath at that moment. So when he said 6'1", 7/8, and they get kind of close because they're reaching over your head, I just like, just breathe right in his nose because I was so mad at him. Mad at him. But now with this place here, what's your official title here?
I'm the CEO here. I generally work on business development for us and help grow the business. We weren't in anything as elaborate as this before, but this was always our vision to have, not just PT in an office room and, working on people for physical therapy and rehab. I want a place where we can do the rehab situation and then get you lifting and back in your element or on the field, whether you're soccer, football, whatever sport you play, and really test things out so you are more ready to go. Rather than just do a little treatment, send you on your way, and you tell me how that went.
The bare minimum. And that's really what it is. And the lesson I've learned is always, add more value than you're charging in anything in life, and that will create your true value, right? Add more value than you're charging. And that's exactly what you guys do here. I mean, I've seen the results, I've seen the work, the things you guys are doing on social media and putting stuff out there. Could people follow you somewhere?
Our business page is Apex PWR. So at Apex PWR on Instagram, Facebook, that's where you can find us. We don't do Twitter.
What would a Portland area lineman, right? A lot of the guys out there aren't here in the Northwest, but what if someone's living in Portland and currently they're in the off season now and they're not injured, or maybe they're at the end of the season, they have some owies. What would you suggest a guy could do? I mean, would they still come in here and work?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of physical therapy available that people think I gotta be disabled or immobile or in a boot or on crutches to warrant going to physical therapy, but that's not the case. We have an athletic-minded PT that was a former national softball champion, so I know shoulders are her forte, but along with any other body part you have, she can relate to you as an athlete and your needs and the demand of what you're trying to do. Go from, high school, freshman to varsity that next year, or varsity to college, whatever it is. I feel like we can help people out, and a lot of mistakes I see people make is, oh, my season's done, I'm gonna chill. And that's the moment where your competition in Texas or Florida or wherever is making their move to surpass you and get ready for these upcoming camps or, lineman drills or whatever. They're doing what they can to fix themselves right now, not waste time. You're never gonna get this time back in high school, so don't sit around and waste it. Your agenda needs to be different than the average person you're seeing in the hallways. They're just there going to school. If you want to be D1, you need to take everything seriously. In season, out of season, rehab. I mean, it's not a sign of weakness to go to get rehab. I know that I felt that way of, gosh, I got to go get PT. I don't even want to tell anybody because now I sound like a liability. I sound like a wuss, like I'm complaining. People shouldn't take that approach. They should take, hey, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna work on my ankle flexibility so I can have a better stance or my knee range of motion, or I have ongoing back pain. What's going on in my core? whatever it is, there's things that you can work on now to then enter off-season training and these camps and be set up and ready to go, as opposed to sitting there, you know, well, I still got this little boo-boo from season. College coach is going to sit and look and wonder why you didn't get that fixed. Don't show up here with any problems. Get them all dealt with.
Absolutely. And, you know, from my point of view, if you're like an 8th grader, 9th grader out there, it's a huge opportunity to be working on hip and ankle flexibility. They go together, and they're so necessary for alignment. The way we bend, the way we move, where the power comes from, or a tight end, or a quarterback, just an athlete, or softball player. Hip and ankle flexibility, you might not think it's a big deal, but when a college coach looks at 2 guys and they're all completely the same, except for one has good hips and ankles, it's very visible, very visible. So certainly, guys, whether you're here in Portland and you can come into Apex, or you're in another city, there's places like it, probably not quite like it, but places like it out there. It's just a matter of getting on and finding now. When I went through it, it wasn't there. I can only imagine how much better I would have been had I had that kind of attention.
Totally.
You know, so good stuff. And then when it comes to kind of more of your message, you know, you talked a little bit about, you know, having a plan for after the game, but you've written a book and you have a lot of different messages. So what's something, whether it's to the kids or coaches out there, just to the linemen, what is the gist of your message, or what would you like to share?
I got a lot I'd like to share, especially to high school kids these days. There's so much to really give them to help them out. But I felt like one thing that my dad helped breed into me is just a sense of urgency. And, you know, it's easy to apply to practice, getting from one drill to the next, jog, run, get there. But the same thing just applied to my time management when I got to college. You know, be urgent with getting to class and get on. Everyone has the same amount of time in a day, and I hate hearing the excuse of I don't have time or I can't, whatever. You have the time, you just need to better apply it. So you can mix this urgency message in with time management, but being urgent and moving from thing to thing has really helped me out, not just in football, but also in life, and realizing, hey, I have a leg up on the general population just because of the demand I've placed on myself from a young age and moving forward. And I mean, if I'm trying to get recruited, coaches love seeing a guy that moves and moves quick at the drop of a hat. They don't want to see guys that just lollygag around. That's the word my dad would use, dilly-dally around, whatever you want to, yeah, whatever you want to call it. Don't do that. Be urgent, get on the move, ask, be proactive, ask what, you know, ask more, ask for more, seek out more, ask questions, and always continue to grow.
Yeah. What I hear is when I think about a kid that doesn't do those things, because that's what's funny in my mind now. I work with a lot of kids. I picture kids who I know aren't doing those things. I go through my roster of thousands of kids I've seen, and they're just scared. They're scared of success. They don't think they're good enough. It's what you do every day, guys. It's the little things, like Coach is saying. It's that you hustle. I mean, that's just, that's the word for me, is just hustle. Be a hustler, and those coaches will like you. Totally. So we are out of time, but before we go, I wanted to give you something. You've played a lot of positions, and I know, you know, I believe that at the very heart of it, you're a lineman. We talked about how you love the pancake guys. And so I think that, sure, you were a quarterback, sure, you ran some routes, but you were put on this earth to move people.
There you go.
You were doing it on the field, now you're doing it off the field. You're helping kids. And I want to make you an honorary member of the Line Pro community.
I like it.
Here's that for you.
Appreciate
Hope
that.
you'll join us on the long run here. We're trying to do big things.
Oh, yeah.
You guys, I appreciate you guys joining us. This is a podcast and a video series where we're just talking about lineman development things with lineman development people. Today, Jeron Mastrud of Portland. Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time on our new show called LineMentality.